Welcome to Keep What You Earn, your judgment and jargon free zone for entrepreneurs of all levels. Get ready to learn how to scale your business, save money in taxes, and create a business that grows your wealth. If it feels like the financial side of business is like eating your vegetables, well, then think of this podcast as the ranch dressing to make the process a little more enjoyable. My name is Shannon Weinstein. I'm a CPA and business owner on a mission to simplify money and empower others through knowledge. I hope this episode inspires you to take action, but remember that the information we share is for educational purposes only and is not individual tax advice. Now that we got that out of the way, let's start the show. There's unfortunately a lot of fear going around and a lot of scarcity mindset, specifically related to employees. What I've seen a lot of business owners struggle with is the idea that, you have employees that you care for, I hope. And it's so it feels so fragile, the relationship, because you're thinking, "Oh my gosh, at any moment they could decide to go work somewhere else. What if they aren't getting what they need here? How can I support them?" I mean, if you're kind of used to being in that people pleaser type of personality or role, this is something that's a really big struggle because you're always thinking, "Oh gosh, what if they leave?" And it's really important to not just, you know, get them to stay by using your words and by saying how much you care and by doing what they do in corporate, to be honest with you. Like they used to say, we value our employees, people first culture, and all these things. But then when push came to shove, people first culture, but, you know, we expect you to stay till midnight or answer the phone when we call you on bereavement leave, which is what happened to me. Or, there's all of these micro actions that speak so much louder than the words of a company culture. So you can have all the core values in the world. You can have all of the, messaging in the world, the branding out to your employees. But if you don't stand by that, if you don't live your values, then it doesn't mean anything because people will see right through the rhetoric. I mean, we see it all the time. Politicians and celebrities and people we follow, we know, like, okay, I know what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying, but like, do you really live that? Do you really fundamentally, to your core, believe those things? And it's always questionable. And when it comes to employees and loyalty, what I find a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with is the idea that their employees may not be loyal or that how do I keep my employees, enrolled in the mission and how do I keep them in my company and get them to stay so that they can be in it for the long haul. Now there are a couple of things at play here that we talk about with founders that we work with. One is number 1, what is your expectation in terms of how long they're going to work with you? What is a good sign that they're succeeding? And what is a good sign that, they are outgrowing the role or the role is outgrowing them? Like, how will you know when that's happening? And when you can identify when someone is outgrowing their role and you can have that proactive conversation, you can keep them around if you want to, or you can also acknowledge that the role is evolving, they are evolving, and they are evolving in different directions. This is something I've seen with my own company too that, things change so frequently, especially in smaller companies and startups, that what ends up happening is you diverge from the path of the company, and that's totally natural. But when it comes to getting employees to stick around, one of the key things I found is that you have to not assume that anyone can read between the lines. You have to not assume that people understand your goals for them. You have to not assume that people can mind read, basically, is what I'm saying. Because when you assume that employees are on the same page as you, you've already lost. You have to be super vocal and super clear about your expectations of these people. You also have to be clear that you see this type of potential in them, and this is where their opportunity will go. And they need to be enrolled in the vision. And there's this sort of quote that Layla Hormozy says, and I follow a lot of her content. And Layla always says that your mission needs to be so big that they can see their big vision in yours. So and I think that's perfectly said because if you can have such a clear mission, such a clear goal, and a clear idea of where you guys are going, like the destination is programmed on the GPS and we're all committed to being on the bus going there, then that makes it doesn't make it necessarily easier, but it definitely avoids a lot of stops on the way where people realize they're on the wrong bus. If you enroll in and announce your departure and say, "Hey, we're on our way to this goal. Hop on board. This is your last chance to get off the bus." Then I think that's basically clear enough to allow people to enroll in the vision or not. Now, there's a lot of competing priorities out there. There's a lot of reasons why a solid employee who enrolls in your vision may be seeking other opportunities or may be presented with other opportunities. I see it all the time. I get hit up on LinkedIn all the time. Even still, now that I own my own firm, I'm hit up all the time for jobs in corporate, for treasurer or CFO positions. And it's the same thing that people are going to be knocking on your employees' doors whether you like it or not. You cannot prevent other people from being interested in them. It's somewhat like a relationship where you can't prevent other people from being attracted to your partner, but what you can do is make it undeniable that person has zero interest in anyone else because they are committed to you. So instead of worrying about the external, instead of worrying about, damn, if I develop this person and if I invest in this person and I make them better, they're going to just be more attractive to other suitors, to other employers out there. And I don't want that. I want to keep them small, keep them in my corner, and keep them so they don't have any other options. That is a straight destination to failure because the whole idea is you want to develop them so well that they can't imagine working for someone else because they've realized so much benefit out of working with you. What ends up happening is you cage them and then they are looking for other employment once they realize that they're unhappy. And you can't make your employees happy. You can't force them to be happy. But what you can do is cultivate a culture and an environment that fosters your values, that fosters development, that you align on this when you interview them. And if you're struggling with keeping employees or finding the right employees that are going to be loyal to you, I would question if you're struggling with this. If you found that employees have not been loyal, it's not a loyalty issue on their end. It's typically an issue where they have not fully enrolled in your vision, meaning you have not articulated that vision clearly enough. Or the alternative might be that they just simply don't see themselves in your vision anymore because of their own changes in their, we'll say, lifestyle, circumstances, life, whatever that may be, that they just no longer prioritize that vision for them. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what you can't do is internalize that, make it about you and controlling them. You can't do that. You have to be willing to develop people so well that they are a worthwhile investment for you while they're there. And if they chose to go somewhere else, they could. The whole idea is how, you know, this is such a funny parallel, but we just adopted a stray puppy in Costa Rica. And after a couple of weeks with her, she basically she knows that at any point she can leave if she wants to. She's not caged in here. She can walk away, walk out of the house, and she can go back and find another home or go back to the streets or whatever she wants to do, right? She's a fully autonomous being. She can do what she wants. We would love for her to stay. We would appreciate her staying, right? We've adopted her, but we also acknowledge that there's a chance that if she breaks free from her leash or whatever, or she finds her way outside, that she could just leave if she wanted to. But the key thing is here that we show her so much love. We show her so much nurturing. We feed her, we bathe her, we take such good care of her and give her a warm place to sleep and a bed to sleep in that she probably can't fathom the idea of ever leaving that because she feels nurtured here. And why would you want to give up a place where you feel nurtured? And that's the whole idea is that your employees, while not comparable to an actual dog, your employees are going to be able to come back to a place where they feel nurtured. As long as they feel fulfilled, they feel satisfied, they feel developed, they feel challenged in a healthy way, then they're going to be loyal to you. And I think we miss the whole point of creating employee loyalty with these qualities. And instead, we go with bonuses and incentives and surface level, superficial things. And I'm going to challenge you to go a little bit deeper and to really evaluate if the relationship that you're fostering with your employees even with contractors if you're just starting out, but with your team, if you're proud of that and what you could do to enhance that. And here is the biggest thing that I had to learn. It's not always about what you think is best. So, another example that we had was I wanted a lifelong learner culture here. So I had this idea of, oh my God, I'll start a book club. I'll put together a list of book recommendations that I've read. People can contribute to it and we can share knowledge with each other and we can chat in a dedicated Slack channel for the book club and talk about, what we're learning from these books or podcasts or whatever. And we're going to have knowledge sharing. And in theory, I was like, this is a great way to foster company culture, create connection, create an opportunity to communicate with each other and to share what we're learning. Unfortunately, the way this showed up was us asking each employee to contribute to this channel, and they didn't number 1, didn't fully understand why we were doing this, and number 2, they didn't understand really they kind of associated this with an extra thing to do because it was a task on their Asana board that they had to go fill this in. And instead of it creating the dynamic and the culture that we wanted, it actually just created more clutter. It created more tasks. It actually created a burden on them because this is supposed to be something that is already a natural behavior for them. So by putting it into a structured way, it actually deterred people from doing it. So what I would consider you doing if you're trying to instill a really solid culture and you want to infuse elements that keep people around, don't do what I did and don't do the proverbial pizza party or thing that's designed to be a team builder. Actually, ask your team what they want more of. Ask your team what would enhance their experience. Ask your team what types of education they want, what type of experiences they want. If they want to do an offsite day or weekend, ask them what interests them and see if you can infuse that into what you do and customize it because I think when even if we had like Zoom happy hours, like all the things that make you cringe from corporate, Zoom happy hours. We did a weekend away in upstate New York when I was at my firm. We did a weekend away in upstate New York at the partner's house and we had like a beach day and it was super fun and we got to know each other and barbecue. That was actually really fun. But that's because it was curated based on the feedback from the team and we had a close-knit team and we wanted to do something like that collectively. And we had time to plan for it and make it our own and make plans around it, but it wasn't forced upon us. So definitely integrate your team into those plans. Don't rush yourself into trying to do too many things for them where you miss out on the whole point of it being for them and not for you. Just keep that in mind. So, as you're fostering your team's culture and loyalty, just keep all of this advice in mind and remember that it starts with them. It's for them. So, you have to figure out what they want, not what you think they do. One of the best decisions I made in business that saved me countless headaches was getting expert advice in HR as I started growing my team. With so many compliance requirements, especially for virtual businesses, I could never get caught up on everything I needed to learn or I was supposed to do. That's where Jackie and her team at People Principles came in with their signature HR audit for only $349. But get this, if you use code Shannon50, you get $50 off of that. So it's only $300. You'll have peace of mind by the end of the week with this exclusive offer as a Keep What You Earn listener. Here's what's included: a step-by-step self-assessment, a 60-minute strategy session with their HR experts to ensure that you're in compliance and you have a plan for getting on track, an HR template to keep all this important stuff in one place, and a roadmap of the top 3 best practices to implement right now in the next 6 to 12 months. Again, use code Shannon50 to take $50 off of this assessment. Do not miss out on this opportunity or let unintentional HR mistakes derail your business growth. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating and review on your podcast platform. This small action goes a long way for podcasters to get our message heard by more business owners just like you. Be sure to check out the show notes for links to information about our guests and ways to get in touch with me. We'll see you on the next episode.